is Nicole Scrivo, and I'm going to show you today how to make kombucha. You can go ahead and find out more about the health benefits of kombucha by going to our blog, myself and my husband Rob's blog. It's going to be posted right underneath this video. We'll also go ahead and show you where to go for that at the very end on a piece of paper. Okay, so at the very beginning of kombucha, the first step is you need to boil water. And so what I did, because I make, right over here, I make 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go ahead and fill our fourth. I make 4 gallons of kombucha at a time. And why do I do this? Because we have a family of 6, and we go through that kombucha fast, and we need the 4 gallons in order to get us through those 2 weeks, and it takes 2 weeks to ferment. So I try and make sure that we have enough for those 2 weeks that my next batch is fermenting. Okay. After we boil the water, we're going to pour it into our gallon jars, and you can get the gallon jars. Just look at your Walmart or Target or IKEA or places that sell jars. Sometimes you need to go online to get them. Highly recommend the ones with the screw top because you'll use it much more for many more things. But this is what we use. Anything glass, not plastic, will work. And what I'm going to do is I am going to dissolve my cup of sugar first into the kombucha. In order to make kombucha, the 3 essential ingredients are going to be my SCOBY, my tea, and my cup of sugar. So first we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our sugar in, 1 cup. I use organic sugar. Right now Costco is selling it. I'm not sure if they are in your area, but Costco is selling this bag of organic sugar. It's the best buy I've found. You can get this big bag for $10. It's important to do the organic because it's going to be the healthier sugar that is out there. It's also not going to contain any of the chemicals you might find in refined sugar. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to dissolve that sugar first. Make sure you use a plastic, not metal spoon, because the metal, there's some sort of reaction with that. So we always want to, when fermenting or doing anything with fermentation, we use plastic. Also, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and put 4 tea bags in per gallon. I am using green tea. It's important that you use organic, and it's important that you either use a green tea, I get this from Trader Joe's, or a black tea. I'm not sure where I got this batch, but it's just Twinnings, which is a very popular brand, and it is also an organic black tea. You want to make sure that there is nothing added to those other than the flavors typical for a green tea or a black tea, so you don't mess up your kombucha batch. So what we're going to do is we're going to put those tea bags in, and we're going to go ahead and start brewing our tea, and we need that boiling water in order to make a nice brew. And once I get these in, I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for 20 minutes. We want to make sure that we get a nice brewed tea, as we know that tea is, again, one of the essential ingredients to our kombucha. And we're going to let it brew for 20 minutes, take the tea bags out, and then we're going to go ahead and let this cool down to room temperature before we add that SCOBY, the kombucha SCOBY or mother, into our batch. Okay, so I'm back real quick to briefly explain to you 2 things that I missed when I did the tea. This is the tea sugar mixture. I'm waiting for it to get to room temperature. You can use, if you don't like using plastic, you can also use a wooden spoon. I just try not to use metal. Also, you must use filtered water. Make sure you're using filtered water. Thank you. All right, I'm back again, and here we have our tea. It's at room temperature, so I can go ahead and finish off the beginning of my kombucha. So what I'm going to do is I have, as you remember, I put the kombucha mother, or SCOBYs, into jars with some of the kombucha already made in it, because what we're going to do now is, with clean hands, I'm going to go ahead and grab one of the kombucha mothers. They don't look pretty, but they make a really nice drink. And so I'm going to take these, a couple of them, and just put them in there with my, to go ahead and get that fermentation and to have those three elements all together, working together to make what we call kombucha. And we're going to add a little bit of the liquid into it. Okay, and there we have a batch of kombucha ready to go. Now, one of the essential things you want to make sure you do as well, you can use a paper towel. When I first started doing this, I used a paper towel and I took a rubber band and put it over the top. What I prefer to do now is just simply take a napkin, a cloth napkin, and I just put it over the lid. And the reason you want to cover it is because you want to make sure you keep the bugs out, keep the dust out, keep it nice and clean. You don't want to have it completely sealed off. It needs to have oxygen and air going into it, so it has to be something that is porous so that air can get through. So that's really the most important part of making sure it's covered. And that is how we do kombucha. And then in 2 weeks, the batch that I'm making here right now, let me just grab one of these, the batch that I poured in, that you saw me pouring in. This was a 2-week fermentation that I did. My family just had a bottle of it, and it was probably one of the best batches I've had. So it wasn't too sour, and it wasn't too bland. So 2 weeks really is, for our family, the best time frame to do kombucha. If you go any longer, it can get a little sour, and if that happens, it's okay. Because if it's too sour, what you can do is you can go ahead and add some fizz to it, some juice to it, just to make it, to offset some of that sourness. So if it gets to be too sour, don't dump it. This is a great drink. You want to go ahead and just make sure you use like organic juice or something just to offset that sour taste. And so good luck with making your kombucha. Please visit our blog. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and post those, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Nicole Scrivo, and I'm going to show you the final part of making our kombucha. This is after it's been fermenting for 2 weeks. 2 weeks is usually the minimum in order to get that nice fermentation going, also to get that nice kombucha flavor. It's recommended that you don't let it ferment more than 30 days. So I've let it ferment as long as 3 to 4 weeks, and it gets more and more sour the longer you let it go. So I recommend 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops, otherwise it's going to start tasting like vinegar. Okay, what I have here is I have my jars, and what we want to do first is we want to have nice clean hands, because we're going to use our hands, or at least I do. You can do it any way you'd like, just don't use metal. Use plastic if you're going to pull this out any other way than your hands. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take what's called the mother, or the SCOBY, and don't ask me what that acronym means off the top of my head, but it's the main part of making kombucha. So what I'm going to do is I'm sticking my nice clean hand into the kombucha, and I'm going to put it into a jar. Now these jars, if you notice, I mark them kombucha because we do a lot of fermentation. It's important that kombucha stays in the kombucha jars and that you hand wash them, not dishwash them. So I'm going to go ahead and put my mother into my kombucha jar, my first one, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure I also add a little bit of my kombucha to it, because you're going to use that to make your next batch, and you need to have some original kombucha in order to make your next batch. The next step is you are going to go ahead, have a funnel handy. Also, again, I have my bottles marked kombucha. You want to go ahead and keep kombucha with kombucha. And my husband and I, we do other things with fermentation, and we want to keep those bottles specifically for kombucha. I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to pour the kombucha into my bottles. Now, this bottle happens to be an old seltzer bottle, so this is one that we just saved after drinking our seltzer water. We went ahead and saved it, and we're reusing it to make our kombucha. Just slowly pour that in, fill it up. Oops. Careful not to overflow, which always happens when I do this, so have a towel handy, which I have right here next to me, as it can be messy. Okay, and I'm going to fill it, and I'm going to fill it, Rob, if you can zoom in, I'm going to fill it right to where the words kombucha are written. Kind of have a mark, maybe Okay, so now I've bottled it. I've let the bottles sit for 2 days. And you let them sit for 2 days so that if you like a little fizz, if you don't like the fizz and you just want to drink it plain, that's fine as well. You just go ahead and you can put it in the refrigerator, and that's going to stop the fermentation process, so you're not going to get as much of the carbonation fizz. So I went ahead and let them sit out for 2 days. I put some ice in a cup. This is for my kids. They enjoy drinking it this way. I'm going to go ahead and pour a cup. And you can see it's a little fizzy. It looks like soda. And Jared, would you like to come have your kombucha for today?